let's talk about Black Widow.
Really left money on the table not doing that song. Movie. Spoiler, I guess. Full spoilers ahead.
Spoilers ahead. Let me give you some information about Black Widow in case you live under a bus. Natasha Romanoff, aka Black Widow, confronts the darker parts of her ledger when a dangerous conspiracy with ties to her past arises. Pursued by a force that will stop at nothing to bring her down, Natasha must deal with her history as a spy, the broken relationships left in her wake long before she became an Avenger. The movie released into theaters and on Disney Plus Premier Access July 9th, 2021. That movie sits around 2 hours and 13 minutes. And it's rated PG-13, directed by Cate Shortland, starring, of course, Scarlett Johansson, Florence Pugh, David Harbour, Rachel Weisz, and many, many more. This is the first MCU movie that we've gotten in 2 years. It's also the highest performing movie at the box office since Star Wars: The Rise of Skywalker. Whoa. This weekend, it roped in a whopping. Sorry, I misspoke there. The best performing opening weekend since The Rise of Skywalker, especially in the US. The movie made, in combination of theater tickets and the Disney Plus fee, over $215 million, which kicked Fast 9's ass. I think it was somewhere around 100 or 150 million for opening weekend.
Probably already made more than Fast 9.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Rip.
Tanner. No. Matt.
Yeah.
You gave it the lesser rating of the three of us.
I did.
Let's hear your reasons why. First of all, talk about what you did not like about Black Widow.
What was your rating? I missed it.
He gave it a 3 out of 5.
So, So let me just say, it's definitely it's a Marvel movie, so it's definitely solid. They definitely do more right than wrong. I think I came away with a 3 out of 5 mainly because of what I wanted it to be versus what it was. So it's not necessarily entirely fair. So I feel like in the course of this discussion, I could easily be talked to. Do you mind if I spoil your ratings of you both gave it a 4 out of 5?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. I feel like I could be convinced to take it up to that, but I think that they sort of from the beginning of where they chose to put it, in the timeline, kind of penned themselves in because we know what happens before and we know what happens after. So to use the Loki grand timeline thing, they can only deviate so far from the timeline and have only so much development of her character so that it's not inconsistent with what they've already done. So just with knowing that and this, it really took away a lot of the stakes. In most of the scenes, it's well, I know she's going to be perfectly okay in this. So I feel like they could have used her family to greater effect because we don't really know their, quote unquote family, to greater effect to sort of use, to sort of create stakes in it since we don't really know much about them. So that's and that's, is that really fair to the movie? Not really, but that's just kind of what made it sort of jump down in my mind. So let's, how about you guys tell me about some of the things that bumped it up to a 4, or you can address what I said, whatever you're wanting.
Well, I'll go ahead and say, we'll just, I guess all start out with what we didn't like. I did not like, which again, this isn't necessarily the movie's fault. This is more just, I guess, Marvel / Disney's fault of why didn't this movie come out 5 years ago?
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
Did
we need Ant-Man 2 before we got Black Widow 1? No,
we did not. In all actuality, we probably should have gotten Black Widow right after Age of Ultron or something like that.
Right after Civil War.
Right after Civil War, we should have gotten.
Yeah.
I think chronologically, most people have placed it after Civil War, before Black Panther.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
So
that was why I didn't. That was one reason why it didn't get a perfect.
Yeah, and personally, I think the middle drug just a little bit.
Oh, that's exactly why.
They gave us a bunch of really awesome action in the beginning and a bunch of really awesome action in the end, but in the middle, they kind of had to take it back a notch to deal with the family stuff between everybody, which is fine.
Which I thought was interesting. I think that they've done sort of like, I mean, all of Marvel's kind of been like adopted family, but I think that this was kind of doing it in a different way, how it was kind of a mix of, sort of like a goofy family comedy as well as like sort of like a spy movie. So I thought there was sort of some genre mixing in ways that they hadn't done before.
Yeah, Matt, if you were to guess the Rotten Tomatoes action of Black Widow currently, do you want me to give you one of them and you guess the other?
I'll guess the critics.
Okay, what you got?
I think the critic, it is 65% fresh.
And what would you think for audience going off of that?
Audience is usually higher. I'd say 85.
So critics gave it a certified fresh 81%.
Oh, okay.
Whereas the fans have given it a 92%.
Okay.
Which is very strong.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Stronger than I was expecting. Like, again, this is a great movie, but I feel like it's sort of not like, I don't know, not necessarily like a paint by numbers like Marvel movie, but it kind of hit a lot of the same beats. It did a lot of stuff really well, like they all do. So that's sort of surprising.
Yeah, I think you're right, man. I think the biggest issue is that this movie should have come out earlier.
Yep.
Which again isn't the filmmaker's fault. Like nothing like distracted me from the movie thinking this should have come out earlier.
Right.
But afterwards I've been like, it would have been Natasha's death in Endgame would have meant more if we saw this movie.
Agreed.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I hadn't made that connection, and like the only thing we'd lose is the end credits scene if this came out sooner. Like that's literally it.
I forgot about it.
The end credits scene.
Yeah, refresh.
Full spoilers ahead.
Yep.
Natasha's sister visiting her grave.
Yep.
With Valentina.
Yep.
Making an appearance. We stan Elaine. However, I'm trying to think of any other poor things. That's really the only thing that I really didn't like. Tanner, what was your favorite thing about Black Widow?
I really liked the what's his name? I forgot his name.
David Harbour.
Yeah,
the Red Guardian.
The Red Guardian. That guy was he made me enjoy that a lot more. So at the beginning, that is my favorite part about it. And also it was really interesting actually learning something about Black Widow.
Mm-hmm.
We knew all this stuff. And did you know that her boss or Loki references what's her name? His God, I forgot all the names, but the boss.
Yeah, the villain.
He references
he does.
In the first Avengers.
In the first Avengers, he says you are the daughter of or whatever.
When she's manipulating him or whatever. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Very
interesting.
Cool.
All connects.
All
Isn't
connects.
that crazy? That was the first Avengers movie and they had a plan.
They plant those seeds.
I know.
Matt, what was your favorite thing about Black Widow?
I think Yelena, the sister. She's great.
She was.
She's awesome. Yeah. I want more Yelena. Get her in the mix.
We're going to get more.
Yeah, definitely.
I stand with Matt here. The whole movie, I was like, this chick is awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Like Florence Pugh nailed this performance. And piggybacking off of you, I think David Harbour nailed it too.
Agreed.
I think honestly, obviously Scarlett Johansson did her thing and always kills it. But I think the supporting cast was really strong here.
Agreed.
I really enjoyed the family dynamics, even though the villain wasn't really Taskmaster.
Mm-hmm.
I think the main villain, I don't want to say scared, but I was like threatened by him. Like I felt like he was an asshole, and the boss.
I thought you meant the Taskmaster.
Taskmaster, however,
I like that twist. That was a good twist.
Yeah.
Yes, I agree. Taskmaster, I've seen that there is a lot of people on the internet that are not happy about Taskmaster. considering that he is a male in the comics and they did a gender swap in the movies. But come on, man.
And the whole time I thought he was a man.
Who cares?
Like the character's still awesome. The character's still the same. Like, I mean, I guess technically not, but whatever.
I think the character, I had a couple ideas about who Taskmaster was. I'm not sure about you, Matt. I thought that possibly her friend that was hooking her up with all of like the secret passports and secret planes and stuff was going to be secretly Taskmaster.
I like that. I thought it was going to be like a rogue Tony Stark drone.
Oh, as in like it wasn't even like a human in there.
Right. Yeah.
Because to your point, actually, the first like half of the movie, they give you the like thought that like Taskmaster isn't a human because they like say turn on and like they wave to the heads up display. Did you catch all of the little like different MCU like fighting styles that were in there?
Yeah. Oh yeah, I did.
I like visibly frowned when I saw her do the Black Panther claws. I was like, oh man.
A few times she did like the Spider-Man like lands on like the hands, and I was like, that's Spider-Man.
That was also a good running bit of the whole movie. When Florence Pugh said, "Why do you always do the pose?"
Yeah, that was funny.
Yeah.
And then did you Rachel didn't catch this, but like when Black Widow like released the last vial of gas on Taskmaster, she did it with like her pose thing. She, like,
she did? I didn't catch that.
Did. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Shouts to Tanner for taking a tinky break.
Very cool. While he's gone, do you mind if I sort of pose like I sort of had this like criticism of it?
Okay, let's hear it.
So again, it's not really the fault of the movie, but I think I was kind of spoiled having like almost 3 whole series before this. Because I felt that if this would have been a series, I felt like it would have been a better sort of look into this kind of overlooked character. You know, they could have like picked apart like a little bit more. They could have done sort of like a little bit more in depth out of different parts of her life that weren't necessarily quite as bookended as sort of the section that they chose to make the movie about.
Yeah, I like that. I also was worried going in, like, because we've been spoiled with like these 30-minute or 45-minute episodes, like what it would be like to watch a full 2.5-hour movie again.
Right.
And I did find myself about after the first hour, kind of like looking at my watch, just kind of like trying to see how much time has gone by.
Right.
What'd you think about the opening sequence of the movie with like the flashback, them starting there?
I thought that was good. I think that set like I don't think they could believably like have a lot of sort of like the emotional parts in kind of like that draggy middle without sort of setting up like that they were like, you know, some kind of a family, that they did like spend time together and have like some kind of bond and connection.
Mm-hmm. Did you guys realize how dark this movie was while watching it? Like in terms of like there's a lot of sad moments. There's a lot of like real like family issues in play as well. Like,
oh yeah, well definitely. The guy who's in charge, or the evil guy in charge, is a complete psychopath who's just taking away like thousands of people's lives.
Yeah. I did think like, I don't want to say cheesy is the right word, but like that whole ending sequence where he was like flashing up all the girls on screen. He was like, at any point I could throw over a government. I was just like, okay.
Well, that's another thing I think that he set up pretty well, because when she's in the trailer in Denmark or whatever, she's watching a Bond movie. So I thought that was a nice little homage about she was getting him to like say his whole plan and yada yada, and then she really like had it good. So I thought that was another thing like the movie said. Maybe this is a 4 out of 5. I think I'm the one praising it the most on this review. So
see, this is I really honestly my first thought process after the movie, you know, the lights come on, you're waiting for the credits, you know, to finish rolling. I was like, I loved it. I really did enjoy myself watching the movie. I really did. Because I compared it to my reactions after, not to shit on it more, but Fast 9, whereas I walked out of the theater and was like, that was cool.
Yeah.
But not an amazing movie. And this wasn't an amazing movie, but I had a damn good time watching it.
Me too.
Yep.
And it's scored fairly on my list that we'll talk about next. Like,
Sure.
I really enjoyed myself. Like, I'm glad that we got this movie. I just wish we could have gotten it a little sooner.
Yeah.
Me too.
And I think I will hold that at 3 out of 5 because as you were saying that, I didn't quite have that. Like, I wasn't negative once the lights turned on and the movie was over. I was like, all right, that was good. Like, just more like satisfied versus like excited, which it sounds like you were. So that's I will hold my 3 out of 5.
Yeah, I definitely was like, yeah, that was pretty good. I think I went in with lower expectations because a favorite YouTube reviewer of mine didn't dog it, but he gave it like a C-.
Okay.
And I was like, oh, okay. But then another YouTube reviewer of mine was just like, yeah, this is like a B+, A-.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, oh, wow, okay. So I kind of didn't know where to think. So I kind of left my expectations mid-ranged, but I was really blown away by the whole family dynamic. I really, really, truly loved David Harbour and Florence Pugh. Their characters, I think, saved the movie in a lot of places where, like, that whole arm wrestling exchange was just hilarious.
That was great. Yeah. And then he finally gets called. We learned why no one else calls him out for these stories that are clearly made up.
Yeah, exactly. So, I think we all enjoyed Black Widow.
Yes.
In terms of the after credit scene, obviously, Valentina, she comes and she's like, your next target is Hawkeye. Now, there's two thoughts here. Number one is Valentina recruiting or telling this new Black Widow, which is what the rumor is, this new Black Widow, that she has to go assassinate him. Or is she saying, this is who we're going to try to recruit next?
Okay.
Because, if you remember in Endgame, Hawkeye did kind of go a little dark for a minute when his family disappeared.
When he was Ronin, yeah.
So there's a lot of rumor that this character is going to make a appearance in Hawkeye.
Guaranteed.
At the end of Hawkeye to try to recruit him into this new Dark Avengers is what they're called, or the Thunderbolts.
Yeah. I liked I guess not to sort of bring it back, but I do like sort of the prominence of General Ross and kind of those figures that in the comics become Thunderbolts, because that's also what was in my mind. It's like, okay, why? Because the whole plan was that this movie is going to start phase 4. So it's like, okay, what in this is what pieces are kind of being set up here to sort of be moved later. And this movie had the most Ross in it of any other movie in the MCU, it felt like.
For real.
So that cannot be overlooked.
No. And the last little bit of snippet before we move on to the last segment. Did you guys, besides me, notice that Ross looks very noticeably sick or old in this movie?
I didn't really notice. Yeah.
Go back and like try to find some Google images or something of him. He looks noticeably very skinny and very old.
Ooh.
And there's a theory about that. Because in the comics...
Oh, because he needs the Hulk
to
heal, right? Yeah.
Yes. He gets really sick in the comics and he takes the serum and unfortunately becomes Red Hulk, which is a member of the Thunderbolts.
Right.
So there's a theory that after Valentina keeps popping up in all these movies and series, maybe she's the next big baddie like Thanos. She's recruiting these Dark Avengers.
Yeah.
Maybe Ross here becomes Red Hulk here in a few movies. Maybe not at Hawkeye, but maybe at the end of Spider-Man, maybe if he pops up again. We'll see.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't know who else. Well, it might be Shang-Chi if the Abomination's there, because there's the sort of Hulk tie-in with that. That's the only thing I could think of. But it seems like Shang-Chi's dad is the big bad of Shang-Chi from the trailer.
That's what it appears to be, but you never know. Marvel's thrown curveballs at us before.
Yeah, bigger ones than this.
Absolutely. Oh, yeah. So, Black Widow, check it out in theaters. All three of us saw it in theaters. So if you feel safe, if you feel comfortable, this movie was awesome in the theaters.
Yeah.
So
Phenomenal.
Fun experience.
So a very fun experience. A lot of people getting back to the movies with the major Marvel release. So go check it out in theaters. If not, $30 for premiere access on Disney Plus.